Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate 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 Vasudevaya.
Nayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayam mundiraye. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances unto the personality of Godhead Narayan, unto Nara Narayan Rishi, the supremmost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto Shyavyasarya, the author. Rastaprayeshu abhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavatam shloke bhaktir bhavati naishtiti. By regular attendance in the classes on Bhagavatam and by rendering service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed, and loving devotional service unto the personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. So we are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, 2nd Canto, Chapter 5, text 40 and 41. 2:5:40. Katyam cha atalam kuptam urupyam vitalam vivo janubhyam sutalam shudam jangamyam dalatalam mahatalam gopabhyam prapadabhyam rasatalam patalam padatalah iti lokamaya umam tatkatyam chatalam klaptam urupyam vitalam vibho janubhyam sutalam shudam jangabhyam tutalatalam mahatalam tu gopabhyam rapadabhyam rasatalam atalam padatavatam iti lokamaya pumam.
Katyam chatalam kriptam Urubhyam sutalam vibho. Like an eye test. Thank you. Janubhyam sutalam shudham Jangabyam tutalatalam Mahatalam tu pupabhyam Papadabhyam rasatalam Patalam padatalata Iti lokamaya pumam. A year ago I could read that. What does that mean?
Anyone else would like to recite?
Katyam chatalam kriptam
Katyam chatalam kriptam
Janubhyam Sutalam Shudram.
Janghavyam tu talatalam.
Janubhyam Tutalatam.
Mahatalam tu Gupabhyam.
Mahatalam Tugulpavyam.
Prapadayam Rasatalam.
Prapadayam Rasatalam.
Matalam Paratalata.
Patalam Patalam.
Lokamaya Puman.
Iti Lokamaya.
Tatkatyam chatalam kliptam
Tatkatyam Chatalam Kyam.
Urubhyam vitalam vibho
Urubhyam Vitalam Vivo.
Janubhyam sutalam shudham
Janubhyam Sutalam Shudram.
Janubhyam tutalatalam
Janubhyam Tutalatam.
Mahatalam tugulpabhyam
Mahatalam Tugulpavyam.
Rapadabhyam rasatalam
Prapadayam Rasatalam.
Patalam padatalata
Patalam Padatalata.
Iti lokamaya puman
Iti Lokamaya Puman.
Tatkatyam chatalam kliptam.
Tatkatyam Chatalam Kliptam.
Urubhyam vitalam vibho.
Urubhyam Vitalam Vivo.
Janubhyam sutalam sudam.
Janubhyam Sutalam Shudram.
Janghavyam tutalatalam.
Janubhyam Tutalatam.
Mahatalam tukulpavyam.
Mahatalam Tugulpavyam.
Prapadayam rasatalam.
Prapadayam Rasatalam.
Matalam padatalatam.
Patalam Padatam.
Lokamaya Puman.
Iti Lokamaya Puman.
Tatkatyam chatalam kliptam.
Tatkatyam Chatalam Kliptam.
Urubhyam vitalam vibho.
Urubhyam Vitalam Vivo.
Janubhyam sutalam shudam.
Janubhyam Sutalam Shudram.
Janghavyam tutalatam.
Janubhyam Tutalatam.
Mahatalam tukulpavyam.
Mahatalam Tugulpavyam.
Prapadayam rasatalam.
Prapadayam Rasatalam.
Patalam padatalata.
Patalam Padatalata.
Lokamaya Puman.
Iti Lokamaya Puman.
Anyone on the internet? That
Tat.
in his
Katyam.
waste,
Cha.
also Atalam, the first planetary system below the Earth,
Your first planetary system below the earth.
Cliptam, situated, Urubhyam, on the thigh, Vitalam, the second planetary system below,
The second planetary system below.
Vivo, of the Lord,
Janubhyam.
on the ankles, Sutalam, the third planetary system below,
The third planetary system below.
Shudam,
Purified.
Janghavyam, on the joints,
Two.
Back, Talata, the fourth planetary system below,
The fourth planetary system below.
Mahatalam, the fifth planetary system below,
The fifth planetary system below.
Two, Back, Gopabhyam, situated on the calves,
Situated on the calves.
Prapadabhyam, on the upper or front portion of the feet,
On the upper front portion of the feet.
Rasatalam, the sixth planetary system below,
The sixth planetary system below.
Patalam,
Patalam.
the seventh planetary system below,
The seventh planetary system below.
Padatalata,
Padalata,
on the bottom or soles of the feet.
on the bottom or soles of the feet.
Iti,
Iti,
thus,
thus,
Lokamaya,
Lokamaya,
full of planetary systems.
full of planetary systems.
Kuman,
Kuman,
the Lord.
Lord.
Translation. My dear son Narada, know from me that there are 7 lower planetary systems out of the total 14. The first planetary system, known as Atala, is situated on the waist. The second, Vitala, is situated on the thighs. The third, Sutala, on the knees. The fourth, Talatala, on the shanks. The fifth, Mahatala, on the ankles. The sixth, Rasatala, on the upper portion of the feet. And the seventh, Hatala, on the soles of the feet. Thus, the Virat form of the Lord is full of all planetary systems. Purport. Modern enterprisers, the astronauts who travel in space, may take information from Srimad Bhagavatam that in space there are 14 divisions of planetary systems. The situation is calculated from the earthly planetary system, which is called Burloka. Above Burloka is Bhuvarloka, and the topmost planetary system is called Satyaloka. These are the upper 7 lokas, or planetary systems. And similarly, there are 7 lower planetary systems, known as Atala, Vitala, Sutala, Talatala, Mahatala, Rasatala, and Hatala lokas. All these planetary systems are scattered over the complete universe, which occupies an area of 2 billion times 2 billion square miles. The modern astronauts can travel only a few thousand miles away from the Earth, and therefore their attempt to travel in the sky is something like child's play on the shore of an expansive ocean. The moon is situated in the 3rd status of the upper planetary system, and in the 5th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, we shall be able to know the distant situation of the various planets scattered over the vast material sky. There are innumerable universes beyond the one in which we are put, and all these material universes cover only an insignificant portion of the spiritual sky, which is described above as Sanatana Brahmaloka. The Supreme Lord very kindly invites the intelligent human beings to return home back to Godhead in the following verse of the Bhagavad Gita, 8:16. Abrahma Bhuvana Loka Punara Bhartinorjuna Mamupetya Dukonteya Punarjanmana Vidyate. Beginning from Satyaloka, the topmost planet of the universe, situated just below the eternal Brahma Loka, as described above. All these planets are material, and one situation in any of the many material planets is still subject to the laws of material nature, namely birth, death, old age, and disease. But one can get complete liberation from all the above-mentioned material things when one enters into the eternal Brahmaloka, Sanatana atmosphere, the kingdom of God. Therefore, liberation, as contemplated by the speculative philosophers and the mystics, is possible only when one becomes a devotee of the Lord. Anyone who is not a devotee cannot enter into the kingdom of God. Only by attainment of a service attitude in the transcendental position can one enter into the kingdom of Godhead. Therefore, the speculative philosophers, as well as the mystics, must first of all be attracted to the devotional call before they can effectually attain liberation. Omagyanatimirandhasya Vinanjana Salakaya Chaksurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yutapadakam Shri Guru Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishadam Vitamscha Hare Krishna Karma Sindho Dinabando Jagapate Gopesha Gopika Kampa Radha Namostute Taptakanchana Gorange Radhe Vrindavameshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devin Pranamami Haripriye Panchakalpatarubhyascha Kripasindhubhya cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasnaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Sunyavani Pashyataresha Svanine. So, hello, welcome everyone. In person we have Malini, Ramachandra, Patrick, Lea, Brielle, Narayan, Tira Govinda, and myself, and Eze and Nalini. And on internet, Dominic, Daniel, George, Saraswati, Rebecca, Rukmini, and Charlene, and Olivia, and Dejan. Hare Krishna.
And Luca.
So, I don't see Luca, but probably he's there too. He's sleeping. Nice. Good to see you, everyone. Yeah, so it's this purport kind of responds all the points that we raised yesterday, like magically, as always. Yeah, so what comes to my mind is the analogy of the frog in the well. So there is the frog in the well, and then like a frog friend comes and says like, I've been to Atlantic Ocean. It's like huge. Like I cannot even like see the end of it. And the frog in the well is like, you mean like twice as big as my well? That's really big. I get that. No, it's like, you don't get me. It's like really huge. So like reading this Srimad Bhagavatam and like learning about the universes, I feel like the frog in the well. Like, you mean like twice as this universe? And it already feels completely inconceivable. But it's like, so this universe that we like really can see the end of it is like unlimited times and other universes. And then all that is just like a little tiny fraction of the spiritual sky. So it's, I guess the analogy of the frog in the well with the ocean it doesn't even really compare with like what we can conceive and what's all there. And then so there are different planets, and as we spoke yesterday, they are all miserable. I really like your point, Patrick, that like if there is this birth, old age, and disease, there is probably also fear. So anxiety. You said anxiety. Yes. And so Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, like this material world from the Brahmaloka down to the lowest planetary system is full of miseries. So like we can like imagine like, oh, the heavenly planets, that must be so nice because like, I don't know, like there is like a beautiful nature and unicorns and dolphins and they are. And then like they are all like cute and you can play with them all day long. You are like healthy and live long. But really it's just like, it's anxiety. Yesterday I was reading in Srimad Bhagavatam. I'm always fascinated because as I read Srimad Bhagavatam, I really see like the foundational seminar, let's say, and then there is like the lectures that you are giving, Dira Govinda, and then I'm thinking like, yeah, it's like based on Prabhupada's philosophy, but you probably like thought of the metaphors or read them somewhere else. And then as I read Srimad Bhagavatam, I'm like, oh, so he didn't invent this either. Oh, not that either. So yesterday was one of these like.
How disappointing that you're discovering that.
Yes, well, you encouraged me to read. Yeah. So I was reading the example of like the person being put under the water, the punishment, and then like as like the person is suffocating and almost dies, but then is allowed to take a breath above the water. And that's like what we call the material enjoyment. So I thought you made this one. but Srila Prabhupada says this in the purport of Srimad Bhagavatam. And yeah, so even if we are on the heavenly planet, the enjoyment is just like the enjoyment of like being for some little time above the water. And maybe it might be like a relatively long time or a relatively short time, but still like the only enjoyment about it is like being for like some little time above the water, not knowing when the time down comes again. So if we are like really awake to that reality of the material world, then it's like being in the horror movie. Like, I don't know if you ever watched a horror movie, but it's so scary. It's like, because like any moment something terrible can happen there on the scene. And it's like, I saw like maybe like 2 or 3 horror movies in my whole entire life, and sometimes it still haunts me. But like the material life is like a horror movie, and it doesn't matter where we are at. And then of course, so there's like a relatively longer time above the head above the water, and relatively shorter time. But all in all, there's not much of a difference, because if I'm at least a little honest, I know that the time under the water can come any moment. And yeah, so they are described like 14 planetary systems. We are in the middle, so it's the most fortunate position, because there is not too much enjoyment to think like, oh, above the water is like really nice. And then we are also not under the water all the time, so we can actually take a breath and like think a little with clarity. So that's a good position here. And yeah, as I was reading the verse, I thought like, oh, that's nice. So the hellish planets are actually closer to the Vishnu's lotus feet. So that's a perspective. I don't want to go there, but I thought like, that's nice. It's closer to lotus feet of Vishnu. And yeah, so sometimes this like question comes like hell is like very controversial topic. Like, it's like, are you like some kind of like sectarian religion, like threatening people that like if they don't behave they will go to hell? Like, you believe in hell? It's like so like ancient, or like behind the monkey philosophy. So once Prabhupada was in England, they asked him, Prabhupada, do you believe in hell? And he said, London is hell. So yeah, like for me, like to believe in hell was never difficult, because just to look around here in this planet Earth, like, okay, so there are like the springs, the blue springs, that's like relatively heavenly. And then there are places like slaughterhouses, and that's hellish. So even on this planet Earth, just to look around, it's just like so much hellish conditions that like, it's even like, it's just hard to even like believe it, because like I'm sitting here and I'm like completely numb, like to what's happening on this earth. Like there are like people who are taking the skin of the animals alive to make coats. It's just like, it's crazy. Or like, and then, or like the animals in the laboratories for like making like a new makeup testing. But the way how they test it is really not nice. It's like, cutting their skin to like put it like right on the flesh, to like, sorry. So I will not go into more details, even though I unfortunately know way too many details, and I'm still numb. And then we can say like, oh, these bad people out there do this. But really, like, everyone who is like living unconsciously is contributing to this. And it's like, I think like the sinful activities that like, which like is alienating us from ourselves and from Krishna. And it's really the numbness, because if I'm numb, then I can do all sorts of things that I wouldn't do if I was connected with the pain that's causing. And so like one of the sin is not to raise hand, like witness suffering without saying something. Like, I'm witnessing suffering and I don't do anything. And so I'm often meditating on this, like how it applies to us, because there is so much suffering, and how do I raise hand to all of it. But also I know from experience that that not raising hand like brings this numbness. Like at the veterinary school, they brought us a mouse and they said, who doesn't want to make experiment on this mouse, raise your hand. And I didn't raise my hand. And I know, even though I was like quite unconscious what was happening, but like retrospectively, I know that was the moment when like my heart became so hard. So it makes complete sense to me that just by not taking stand, which itself is, it doesn't seem that much, but just by not taking stands, like creates so much numbness, then it can like lead to all many other things that I did then that I wouldn't do otherwise. And so, so that's one, just like to witness and don't do anything. But like really for most people, it's not only witness, but participate by like purchasing the coat from the animals. Or like there are like things that are much more like seemingly nicer than that, like wool, you know, when you have wool socks. So how they do it in Austria, like how they raise the sheep, is that they cut the skin from their butts to like without anesthesia, without anything, like that big piece of their skin from their butt, and it's so-called prevention for like worms, that like the skin there is like wrinkled, and so there are like flies going and like putting worms, and so the prevention is, well, they just like cut their skin off. So even like buying wool socks is contributing to this in a heavy way, because if nobody was buying it, it wouldn't be happening. But of course we are in Kali Yuga, so it will be happening. But like speaking about hell, like how can even like someone come and say like you believe in hell? That's ridiculous. It's just like, just look around. So it can get worse, and like, yeah, so then again, like looking at my life, also like it makes sense to me that there is hell, because like then all the so-called negative experiences in my life like help me to feel again something, and I'm really grateful for that, because I don't want my heart to be like stone, like Shila Tankana Kalaya, that we sing every morning, that, you know, Nrsimhadev is like breaking the stone-like chest of Hiranyakashipu with his nails. So yeah, I don't want my heart to be like stone, because I really don't want to do the things that I wouldn't do if I actually had some compassion. So it's like such a terrible position for the soul. Like when I see like victimization, I often feel completely numb for both sides. That's true. But if I feel something, so often I feel so much more for the perpetrator than for the victim, because like this numbness, and then like how it like really goes like down to like commit grosser and grosser sinful activities and becoming more and more alienating from the self, and it's just like so humiliating for the soul to do things like this. It's just so gross. And so then like when something like happens, like going to hell or like hellish situation, and then it's like actually shakes this false ego, or you know, the numbness, it's such a mercy of Lord Krishna to do that. Because if he didn't do that, like there is no stop. Like it's just like there is no stop. It's just like one sinful activity, meaning like becoming disconnected from ourselves and from Krishna, leads to another sinful activity that's more gross than was the previous one, and to the next one that's more gross than was the previous one, and another and another and another, and there is really no stop to it. So either voluntarily, like if we chant Hare Krishna, all that numbness can be washed away just by that pure devotion. We are fortunate to meet the spiritual master and take on this process. We are not too alienated yet. That's like the resistance is too big. Or Krishna has other ways how to help us, and they are very powerful and very wonderful. And if we want to, we can see that. Like when something so-called bad is happening in someone's life, we really have the opportunity to take it like this, like a wake-up call. So I often feel like when it's me, I often feel resentful to Krishna. But then I we have the quote in Foundational Seminar, how can you love someone when you don't understand him? So I feel like, yeah, that's a good point. Like, how can I love Krishna when I don't understand him? So sometimes I try to do empathic guesses. Like I do empathic conversation with Krishna, which is mainly my guesses. And I forgot where I go with this. So empathic guesses. Yes. So I'm I guess Krishna, I can see that in my life, it plays like this. Like if something so-called that happens to me, it's such a blessing that really helps me to be more pure, more compassionate, feel more, and act in a way that I would want to act if I wasn't numb. So Krishna, I can see it in my life, but how about the others? I don't see. But, and then I am empathically guessing how can you know what others are experiencing? Ask them, or something. And then when we have the seminars, there is so much of okay, say your victim version and your accountable version, or so much about accepting responsibility and seeing different events of life from another perspective. And practically everyone, not immediately, but is able to see wow, this was such a great thing that happened in my life. And so that's how Krishna does things, and we have opportunity to help each other to see how merciful Krishna is and understand him, and then loving him. So loving Krishna. So I'm also thinking about this topic often, sometimes you say, and I like it, when people are atheists and they're so you are believe about God, it's nonsense, and you go it's quite advanced topic anyway, who are you?
Yeah.
So I like that. And so I'm thinking, okay, so love Krishna, that's an advanced topic, but what's your relationship with yourself? And that's that goes together so much, because we are part and parcel of Krishna. And so, let's say if I am hating myself, part and parcel of Krishna, what relationship am I going to have to the whole? Probably not very good, but to speak of loving. So it goes really what my relationship with other parts and parcels of Krishna, and what is the relationship with myself. And so it's on this path of Krishna consciousness, I think it's really important to love ourselves too, not the false ego necessarily, but ourselves. In Srimad Bhagavatam there's this verse, Pichate hridaya grantis, chidante sarva samsaya, chiyate chasya karma di drishta evatmanishvare. So this drishta evatmanishvare is that one sees the self with a little s, with a little s as a master. So when one sees the little self, ourself, as a master, then all misgivings are cut into pieces, and the knot in the heart is peace, the numbness in the heart is washed away, and the chain of these karmic activities is destroyed, which is really nice. So when one sees the little self as a master, and I think that's relevant to this principle, when one can love the little self, and I can see the little self as a master. So it's not necessarily seeing as the master the false ego and the material mind and that, but really awaken to that relationship with ourselves. When we see Shah Prabhupada on some pictures or on the videos, I can see he really loves himself. He's kind of, yeah, it doesn't seem oh, I am I hate myself, I'm so terrible. Yeah, we don't get it from him so much. And so So I was thinking at the foundational seminar when we did the obstacle. Yeah, good. Everyone here is graduate, I believe. Yeah, that's good. So when we do the obstacle process, I hope it's good. But the obstacles, and so it's like you do your physics, quantum physics. It really made some scar on my heart. so like for the consciousness to change from like hating myself to loving myself, there is not necessarily a way. It's like a quantum jump. and then we have a process about it. And so I was thinking about the obstacles. So I wrote them down for you, so I don't have to think again. It is not possible for me. That's one obstacle. So it may be possible for others to love Krishna or love themselves, but it's not possible for me. So where this comes from is being a perpetrator or being a victim. That's like two main, maybe there are some other, but these are two main. So if I'm a victim, I'm like making it meaning about myself that I am like a bad person. And there is so much shame about like people who are victimized. There's often so much shame that they don't even want to share what happened to them, because like it's like so connected to like I'm a bad person and this happened to me. And being a perpetrator, I already spoke about it a little bit. So there is like so much guilt with it, and like wow, like if I did this, I'm such a bad person. And we know that like people don't like to share this part even less. Like to like share like how I was victimized is easier than to share how I was a perpetrator. It's yeah, it takes less. It takes less to go there. And so these two things are really two things that like go with this, like, yeah, I cannot love myself. I cannot love God. And so I was thinking about it. I don't, as obstacles, it's like what comes to me is the verse Srimad Bhagavatam. You know that one? Taror api sahishnana amanina manadena kirtaniya sara hare. So tolerance and humility. So instead of like, oh, I did this, so I'm a bad person, like becoming humble. Like, yeah, I'm like a conditioned spirit soul. And in this like conditioned state, then naturally, like I'm going to do mistake, I'm going to cheat, I'm going to victimize others and be victimized. And yeah, I'm like so disconnected and alienated, and like in a like in comparison to the material energy, that's like huge. I'm like so small, and without connection with Krishna, I'm powerless. Like there is nothing I can like overcome the material energy on my own. Like I like without intelligence from Krishna, I have no intelligence. I don't know how to act. I don't know what to do. I'm numb. So instead of like, oh, I'm such a bad person that I did this, it like can lead to humility. And humility is platform for actual self-compassion and love. And then tolerance, that's I see more towards the others, like when I'm victimized. So instead of like, oh, I must be a bad person when this happened to me, and the other person is a bad person too because he did it to me. So what my relationship to the part and parcels of Krishna is with this idea. This person is bad because he did this to me, and I am bad because it happened to me. It's not a very good relationship with the part and parcels. But we can come to true tolerance, then like it's like about understanding the material context and the laws of karma, and also, as I spoke before, like how we can see the mercy of Krishna in everything that happens, and seeing like maybe the perpetrator as the instrument, and then myself as the one who is like getting the blessing, because it's a blessing. So that's a destroyed obstacle. I know whether they are not supposed to argue with the obstacles, but I feel like the obstacle is completely defeated. And then trying to control, that's another one. Like, it's because it's like such a disturbance, let's say, like, even like for like focusing on chanting japa or like on like cultivating some relationships, like if I want to like control, then there is not much space. And then like it includes like being like attached to a certain experience or to certain results, or that people act in the way that I want them to act, or the weather is the way that I want the weather to be. And it just like creates so much agitation and disturbance for the mind that there is no space for cultivation relationship, not even on the material platform, what to speak of a spiritual platform. So it goes to the Trinat Api, but also in the next verse, Lord Chaitanya says, Dhanam na janam na sundarim, kavitam va jagatishvakamaya, mama janmani janmanishvare bhakta bhakti rahaitu kitvaye. So this nadanam na janam na sundarim, he's kind of like summarizing it. So it means like, I do not desire to accumulate wealth, nor do I desire a beautiful woman, nor do I want any number of followers. So money, women, and followers. But it also like means like appreciation, acknowledgement, like position, adoration, distinction, like people will like me, I will be appreciated, I will be seen as a smart one, I will be famous, I will have a lot of money. So if we are attached to any of this, then it will be so hard to have any space for like a loving relationship with ourselves, because it takes space. So the medicine for this is chant Hare Krishna. It is because in Bhagavad Gita it says that like when we contemplate, the object of senses, then we develop attachment. And then when we develop attachment, then we will become lusty and greedy, and then we will be angry because we don't get it, or we'll be frustrated. And then when we are angry and frustrated, then our memory will be completely bewildered and lost, and then we will act completely foolish, unintelligent, numb in the way that we wouldn't really act otherwise. So it starts with the contemplating the senses. And I really like that, because I think it's like a key there, because it's also where to stop it. Because if I'm already angry, not much I can do. I have like black, I have like black in front of my eyes, and I just throw pens on Yogeshwara and all sorts of things that like come in my way. So that's late. And Bhagavad Gita clearly says it's late, because it starts with the contemplation of the objects of the senses. And I will share it again, even I do it for the whole month. I'm reading in Srimad Bhagavatam the story about Chad Parad Maharaj. That's the one who got attached to the deer and then took birth as a deer in the next life, and the next life he's born as a son of a Brahmana, and he pretends he is blind, dumb, and deaf, because he doesn't want to contemplate any objects of the senses. He wants to be like really super protective, that he doesn't allow his mind to contemplate the objects of the senses. So he closed them all. Like I feel like so great, and then what he's doing, he's contemplating Krishna. He's chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So to like subdue this obstacle, we get this like beautiful, full process that we can always contemplate Krishna. Jai, exactly. So like Krishna in his beautiful forms on the altar, or Krishna in his holy names, or Krishna is like a smell of the flower that's been offered to his lotus feet, or Krishna in the form of prashadam, or beautiful music, or a beautiful philosophy. So it's like service. so it's like so full, like how we can like change the contemplation of the objects of the senses. And so that's what, yesterday we went to the temple and there were like these little children playing mardangas and they were so cute. And I thought like I should just close my eyes because I don't want to contemplate these objects of senses. Yeah, because it's so then we went home and I cried and then I started to contemplate Lord Jagannath. And it was so good. Like I felt so soothing and so sheltering, and he's so beautiful. He's smiling so big, and I was looking, and it was just like by changing the contemplation of the senses, it takes some like effort and help of Krishna's mercy. It was like the experience was completely different, and yeah, like the Jagannath is just like when I go to my empathic guesses, I'm like, how comes you come like in this form like this? Like he's just like the Lord of the universe. It's like a big smiley face. You know, like the people in the West think that they invented the smiley face, but really Lord Jagannath, like Krishna, invented smiley face. I don't know, billions years ago or from time immemorial. I don't know where it came. And he really, my empathic guess, and I have no idea about it, but my empathic guess is that he really does it just like for us, to like awaken this fondness. Like I feel so much fondness seeing Lord Jagannath's face, to awaken this fondness for him. And so he's just like thinking like, in what form like I can get them to be attracted to me. And then like he comes with a smiley face, you know, it's just like so out of the box. Like look at him, you know, it's like Lord of the universe, like how it makes sense, but he is. So yeah, so contemplate, like, so we can choose what we will what we will expose our mind to. You really have a choice, and it's not like, it can be a difficult choice at times for sure, but we have that choice. So yeah, I will go soon to visit my parents, and they always have TV on, and I always like, I can see like my mind is like so attracted. It's like a magnet or something. The good news is that like I cannot do it for much long anymore. Like if I watch 5 or 10 minutes, I feel like really like repulsed. But I can do some, and I have the mind to do it. So I'm just thinking, yeah, when I go there, I will just like be like this, and they will be like, "What are you doing?" And I will say, "I just don't want to be exposed to the TV." So I will see how it goes. And yeah, I'm inviting. I'm inviting discussion and comments, questions, honest feedback, and like that.
Hi, Krishna.
Hey, Krishna.
I really appreciated when you said that when we don't take a stand for something, that it makes us numb. I've never seen it like that before, and that really like motivates me to take a stand for things in my life. Thank you for that perspective.
Hare Krishna. It's a perspective from Srimad Bhagavatam.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you for the class. On that note of taking a stand, I wanted to ask something that I've been struggling with, or like I don't know how to ask this question to some of my colleagues. Right now is it's called Spring Synergies coming up, where at the university they are going over all the animal experiments that they have done, and a lot of them that are happening involve pain, causing pain to animals and seeing how they react. So I was going to ask the question to my colleagues, because we sit in a big boardroom, and then after they present what they did to the animals and what the results of what they think happened is, then they open the floor to questions. And so I was going to ask, like, have you considered how this pain that, you know, you are causing these animals, how it will come back, you know. But I don't know how to ask. I don't know how to ask the question in a way that is for the benefit of everyone who's doing, because it's not just a person presenting. Half the people in the room are currently undergoing experiments with animals causing pain that they will present next year. So it's like, my question is, how do I stand up for everyone in a way that doesn't alienate them or doesn't embarrass or embitter them towards me?
Yeah, good question. What do you think? What do you think is the balance?
I mean, I know in the Bhagavad Gita, like Prabhupada says, like you have to speak the truth in a way that is not just like, oh, well, here's the truth, and you know, it's like, how do I speak it? Like,
In a way that's truly beneficial.
yeah, like it's not just in a way that is beneficial without like traumatizing people. Because everyone's like actively doing this, you know, like currently they're like going to the lab. So it's like, how do I? And you know, there's so much attachment to them getting this degree that is based on them like doing these things. So it's like, I don't know how to I mean, they don't already like me because they think I'm weird because I chant around them, so they don't understand me. So it's like, I don't know how to, not from a fear of like being I don't know, excluded, or just from a want to not crush their bhakti lakta beajas, or just not like throw them off, just to say like, hey, like, yeah, I mean, I don't know. That's why I'm asking the question, I guess.
You're asking the question because you're not unclear about how to present it in a way that they are not going to be reactive to you, in a way that they are going to maybe contemplate a little bit, at least a little bit more than they have contemplated until now. Like just maybe coming to a place of themselves asking a question to themselves, wondering how am I serving, or something like that. My sense, it seems that the principle there is like to meet people where they are at, and then from their consciousness brings them to the next level. For example, you say something like, you tell them, are you aware that, you know, it's going to create suffering for you? It's not necessarily a paradigm that's going to meet them where they are at, and from that, my sense is that they may not be very open to receive, because it includes believing in next life. It includes so many things that they may not at that stage. But like, you know, that's just asking, like just meeting them where they are at. And every human being experiences pain. So that's for sure. They may not experiencing that we have a next life, but every human being experiences pain and physical pain. And those people who are around animals and making experiment with animals, they are numb to the pain of the animals. I work in labs also in my youth. And I could see that they were completely numb, and I was numb too. And to kind of create a crack in that numbness, to meet them where they are at, from their their sphere of knowledge, which is their experience pain. Everybody can relate to that. And then by meeting them where they are at, kind of create a crack in that numbness, create a crack that maybe they will ask a question, are we really serving, or like, yeah, like I'm wondering if it's affecting my consciousness to be around animals and creating suffering for them. Or like sometimes people say they have a good argument for eating meat. They often say like, I need to eat meat because for my body I need it. If I don't eat meat, I'm getting sick. Like, you know, that's argument I have heard people are, and it makes sense. And then with torturing animals, if it's a good cause, then it's easier to kind of rationalize about it. And then it's to ask, okay, well, that imply at the bottom, that's implied that my life is more important than a cow's life, or my life is more important than a pig's life. And I'm not asking them to agree or disagree, but at least if it's opening something in people's mind, like, well, yes, I'm functioning from that assumption that I'm more important than the pig. And so it's meeting people where they are at and speaking to their experience of pain, and then maybe meeting people where they are at, bringing them to create a crack in their consciousness, a crack that may lead them to ask a question to themselves.
Yeah, I appreciate like that, like meeting them where they're at might look like just relating the experience that these animals are having to, like, you know, it's like when I, you know, when I don't know, hurt myself, I feel pain, and then trying to find a way from there that they can relate to, where they then make the connection between, like, oh, like, what am I doing, kind of. I appreciate, like, not resolving the problem in any kind of way, or not like offering like a right-wrong paradigm, but just kind of contemplating like what it is that we're doing to these animals. And if that were to happen to me, like, what would I feel, you know, I guess.
Yeah. And the belief system behind it. Why are we doing it? What assumption we are making that we feel we have the right to do that?
Well, I'm entitled to share a bit. Yeah, to me it seems like I could see myself sharing in such a situation. Yeah, well, I mean, it seems clear that these living beings, the animals, are experiencing pain, and I'm wondering, and you know, and then the researchers, us researchers, we have a reason to help children have eyesight and different things. Because I've seen the marketing around this. I've been around medical facilities, you know, in my life, and they'll show a rabbit suffering, and then they'll show a girl with eyesight, and they'll say, like, which is more important, like the. So like I could see. I'm wondering, because there's so much pain involved here for the animals. I'm wondering what are the ethical considerations here? Simply to open that question. Now. Well, I'm just wondering, what are the ethical considerations? And then we invite the question, and maybe there are no ethical. It's very clear, but there will be some like, yeah, what are the moral, ethical, value-based considerations? In some of you heard me share, maybe some of you read the article. So, actually, I was yes in 1999, I conducted a training in North Carolina, and before I needed to get back on the plane for Florida, I had like a half a day. So I went to University Library and I did some quick research. Things were less computerized. And that led to an article that I published in the January 2000 issue of the journal Social Work, which is the most respected journal in the area of social work. And the article is entitled Social Work and Speciesism. And I know some of you are familiar with it, but for me it's very relevant because the profession that more than any other profession is against isms, that is social work. Okay, it's against sexism and racism and nationalism, and that's social work.
And activism.
And yeah, it's all about like that. Okay, and okay, so then I did a literature review. I forget all the in the psych info and you know all the databases. I did a big literature review, international, and I found that in all the social work literature, there was nothing, like not one article about speciesism. Okay, and then what impelled me to do this is because I read something about the biography of the founder of modern social work. She's the mother of modern social work. Her name's, what's her name? Jane Addams. And she was an American aristocrat in Chicago. She was I think it was Chicago. Yes, and she was sent to she went with some friends on an enjoyment trip to Spain just enjoying life. She didn't have to work. She was an American aristocratic class, very wealthy family. And then they went to a bullfight, because that's a sort of thing you do on a vacation in Spain. This was maybe in 1860, 1850. And she was just appalled at what was happening to the bulls. Anyhow, so she had a traumatic transformational experience watching the bullfight. And it changed her life. And she just moved from arrogance to compassion. And then she became the mother of modern social work. She started what's called the Whole House in Chicago. It's the first social work project of modern times. Social work goes back hundreds of years in different forms, but okay. But as far as the actual modern profession, she started Whole House, and she dedicated her life to helping people who are suffering and things like that. Okay, so then, and it all started with her compassion for the pain she saw in bulls. And then I started my article, Social Work and Speciesism. I said, maybe the mother of our profession, maybe she just got it wrong. And maybe she's just a foolish sentimentalist. Let's look at that. And because if we look at, since Jane, there's just nothing in the literature about it. So my article was the first, Social Work and Speciesism. So, and my point was like to begin to raise awareness, to look at possible blind spots. And actually once or twice a year, I just go online and I look up that article, and it's used, it's cited in books, it's used in university courses. There was about 8-9 years ago, a new organization started called Social Workers for Animals, and they asked me to be the president. I declined. I think I could have done service there, but I decided it's not. Yeah, so I'm there as a consultant, but I didn't take any official position. So, and it was just there, like I wanted to raise awareness amongst that professional community, and so I wanted to share that. Hare Krishna.
George, I want to respond as well, because I got this interesting text from my brother last night that I never thought I'd get, and he wants to start going to vegetarianism, and what help, which is totally far out, because he's Cuban, Colombian, from Miami, eats meat so much every day. And I've been trying to, when I visit, give him vegetarian food and show him that it's a tasty alternative. And I've been giving many reasons why, but he watched this documentary and I asked him more about it. And the documentary, the angle that it was coming from was that athletes who eat plant-based diet perform better than people who don't. And that was the angle that he needed. That was meeting him where he's at. It's all the painful information that I was giving him, that didn't mean, he was too numb to for that to do anything. But that's what motivated him.
Like the gorilla.
Yeah.
I really appreciate that, and everyone's sharing. Thank you so much. But I really appreciate that also, Brielle, because it's having the right question, even David was saying about wondering what kind of ethical concerns can be. It's so helpful to me, because so often I see people kind of coming to that conclusion, where I can see them feeling not in integrity, or having because they'll discuss with each other, and then there'll be a point where I can almost see the light going into their eyes a little bit, and I just want to but I don't know how to fan that thing. So I'm just oh man, what a missed opportunity. And so I appreciate you saying that, and then just kind of supporting whatever angle they're kind of stating it. And it's so shocking to me too, because I feel when I see kind of policy being made at the bigger level, where they have PhDs and other, important politicians and things making policy. We took this ethics course last semester, and it's kind of it highlights for me how so many people in the lives of these people who are in a position of power to make laws and to make rules, how many people, like Hladini was saying, kind of didn't take a stand, And you have things like, I think they said that in that ethical class, when we were talking about animal rights and things and so forth, like a lot of the animals, like farm animals and so forth, aren't even considered animal under this, like the research kind of like guidelines. And I remember sitting in that class and being like, it's so interesting to me that like a 3 or 4-year-old, when you point to that thing, it'll say like duck or like animal or whatever. But yet this guy with a PhD and with like however many millions of, election, support behind him, like the guy that is writing the rule misses it. And he's like, no, this is like, you know what I mean? Like, it's so interesting to me that they've gone down that spiral of ignorance to where they're writing policy and kind of like categorizing these living beings.
George
Yes.
George Orwell said, "Some ideas are so absurd that only an intellectual could believe them."
Yeah.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Republic actually 2 years ago the law changed and animals are animals again, which is nice. And I want to say I have one success with my father. He's having meat eater, and I told him like that, like, would you prefer that your leg is chopped off or that you are killed? And he was avoiding the response, and then he said, yeah, well, I would prefer that my leg is chopped off. And so I'm like, so when you want to eat a cow, why don't you just chop her leg off instead of killing her? And he said, because it would be painful for her. And in that very moment, I could exactly see what you said, like the moment of the awareness. And then called it, but it was there. It was there. So that was my one successful question I ever asked.
Wow.
Hare Krishna, can I share something? George, I had the idea that possibly, I don't know how things will go in the conversation, but using the withhold process could be useful, like, because with withholds, you're not asking anyone to think or do or say anything or change at all. You're just clearing your withhold for yourself. And in that way, it actually can serve others because you're being vulnerable and saying, I see you all are doing this. I see this is, your work. And I'm acknowledging you. And I just wanted to express, like, I feel pain or whatever you would maybe want to clear. And then, that could be one angle. So.
I appreciate that, Dominique. I hadn't considered that before, but I'm gonna need to think about it. Yeah, thank you. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions?
I'll just quickly follow what we all shared about your brother and what he was, the appeal for him. So Peter Burwash, you've heard of Peter Burwash? Yes. There you go. So Peter Burwash. So he was seen as really weird, eccentric. He was vegetarian in Canada in the early 70s, and he was a professional tennis player on the tour, and he, like, everyone was just saying he was a vegetarian at that time, like 50 years ago. And he said that everyone saw him as like a strange, weird person until he was the healthiest athlete in all of Canada, and then it brought attention. So it's like, whoa, whatever you're doing, like, he was healthier than all the hockey players and things like that. And then of course he became well known. He wrote lots of books about athletes and vegetarianism and things like that.
Nice.
One question for you, Shakti. In this report, it says that the moon is situated in the third status of the upper planetary system. And also, this part in Bhagavad says that they'll be attracted to the devotional cult. So this is some kind of cult that the moon is situated in the third status. What is this? What is this thing? And you just skipped over it and you're purple. I didn't even mention it. So what is this thing?
I appreciate that you are like pointing out my lack of knowledge. It helps me to be more humble. I have some guesses what it means, but in fact I have no idea. So I think, yeah, if you responded to
Well.
I wanted to hear you.
Hare Krishna, Laya Haribo. Well, Katri has a question.
What is cult mean? What is cult mean?
Cult means culture. Yeah, it's a culture. Oh, you want to hear it? Okay, he's very determined to get you to respond. Yeah, I already spoiled it.
But I knew that fun. I mean, I would say that this means culture. Yeah. It doesn't have to be bad. Like when Erin and Eris, they wanted to enroll me for the seminars, I spoke to Jean, which is mother of Erin, and I told her, Jean, I just think this is some kind of weird cult, all this about of seminar, weird sex and cult. And she's like, so what's wrong with it? And it really helped me to come. So yeah, what's wrong with it?
It's the best cult.
So
Yeah,
Prabhupada uses that word.
He does. Maybe he uses it without any embarrassment or shame or concealment. Hey, this is the cult of Lord Chaitanya, Sankirtan movement. And oftentimes, because often Prabhupada using words in a way that were very current in British English 120 years ago. And cult did not have the pejorative term that came in the 1960s and 70s. Cult, yeah, it's a spiritual culture. It's a colorful culture. And here, just like this particular verse lists the names of the seven lower planetary systems, and similarly, there are 6 planetary systems above Bhuloka. There's, and so the moon it's in the upper planetary system. Yeah. What's that?
The third one.
Yeah, the third.
Like here is describing
Right.
that a different layer to a certain line feet. And then if you go up, 1, 2, 3, that's a moon. No, it sounds Scottish.
I know, so it's just, yeah.
well, I
What
think
is this
Challenging.
cult?
You're in a
What is
challenging mood
this
today.
cult that you're talking about?
I think there is something about the moon that I didn't know where I read it, because I read it only once and I don't even know if it was Prabhupada, but with like when I started to read Prabhupada's book, this idea came to me that the moon that we consider that the moon is really far away, and it's not like it's not like a distance that we could do with the racket. So, but I don't know if
Well,
it's true.
that's a whole discussion. I mean, if we want to go there, the whole discussion. But I mean, basically, there's upper planetary systems, and there's 6 of them, and moon's in the 3rd, like that. But yeah, what you just opened the door to something which for me is a very fascinating conversation, which is also very clear from the whole Vedic cosmology, astronomy. Actually, it caused me a lot of doubts in my early years attempting to practice Krishna consciousness. And then as I studied more, then actually it became a source of deeper trust for me, because I saw that the Vedic presentation includes Western astronomy and much more. Hare Krishna.
Are you satisfied?
Yes, I just wanted to challenge.
Did you,
Okay. Be careful.
do I look stupid enough now? Srimad Bhagavatam teacher.
Yeah.
Srila Prabhupada teacher. And we have a special breakfast made by Elder.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare
Oh,
Krishna.
Hare Krishna. When are you leaving?
Hladini.
On Monday.